Pretty exciting news. Everything going on at one with the Apprentice. You gotta fill me in. I mean, this isn't. You don't hear about athletes coming on to a show like that, and it's got a whole bunch of you guys all lined up. So fill me in.
Yes, sir. 1 second.
No worries. No worries.
So, yes, the One Apprentice show. Obviously, we have a lot of athletes coming in. Sage Northcutt. I think GSP just left. Angela Lee just left Singapore. I don't know if Sage got there yet. I'll be going out there pretty soon. And one lucky winner will get a $250,000, job under, Chatri. So it's going to be a fun time filming.
Do you kind of know what your role is going to be within it? Are you a mentor, or are you on display? I mean, I really have no idea what's going on.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to be a judge and give some of my feedback, what's made me successful in the workplace, not just in my mixed martial arts career, but, also when I used to work full time. I've had multiple jobs, from hanging gutters, working at Taco Bell, working at construction, working at a construction plant. The list just goes on. So I think I'll be able to give some great insight on to how to be successful and how to work hard.
So it's not one of those that you've really taken the time to go and study the whole catalog of The Apprentice, start doing the Donald Trump, you're fired, or any of that?
I don't think so. I know what Chatri's got up his sleeve in his mind, but I know Chatri, he likes hard workers, and I know he's not going to, let anybody slack, and I'm not going to let anybody slack depending on what I'm overseeing. But like I said, I think it's going to be a great thing to do, and it's always good to create content in different realms.
And if they're not doing a good job, you can just beat them up.
Yeah, right, I am.
So also, in big news, everybody talks about the GOAT, Habib kind of throwing in the towel, and there's been all the talk of that. And then recently, Adesanya went out on your behalf and called you out as the GOAT. How that kind of feel, hearing that from an elite fighter still in his heyday, speaking volumes of yourself?
Yeah, it's an honor. I told Izzy that he's on his way. If he keeps on beating everybody the way he is, the way he, dismantled Paulo Costa, I said, you keep doing what you're doing, sure enough, you're going to land that role. And, it's awesome. It comes and go, right? And everybody has their own personal opinion. And I respect and I appreciate that he looks at my career as, one of the best to ever do it.
And it's definitely even more exciting knowing, like, the way you've had fights where you're unanimously, like, round by round, we know you're going to win. And then you pull off a sick submission. Still to this day, that's got to be one of the best submissions I've seen, let alone in the closing seconds of the round.
Yeah, I think I was literally thinking about that today. And that's how you be remembered, is doing stuff in your career that nobody's ever seen before, who's been watching mixed martial arts since the very beginning. And, that's credit to my teammates, my coach, for working with me, keeping me, focused, keeping me determined. And I was happy I was able to pull it off. And, the very last closing seconds of a world title fight where I defended my belt 11 consecutive times.
So, I mean, going in your head, I mean, did you have the mindset, like, we're coming into that round that, hey, I'm going to go do this. I know I have it in there, and I get throw it out, or you kind of let things kind of dictate as they did?
I let things play out the way they did. I remember that time in my training camp, Matt was teaching us how to move when they aren't heavy. And I remember Ray Borg, he went back and he hit me like that. And once he did that, he shifted his weight by going backwards. So I used that to throw him up. But, I always let things play out the way they do. I almost let my opponents pick their poison.
With one championship, I mean, you haven't seen so much of a letdown. Like, a lot of people try and speak that one promotion as the better tier of fighters, but we've seen fighters come from other promotions and still prove that they're just as exciting as everybody else. I'm sure, like, going over to one, it hasn't been kind of a walk in the park. These guys are real deal over there as well.
Yeah, I think there's great athletes all around the world, whether it's in Asia, America, PFL, One Championship, Ryzen, UFC. I mean, LFA. I mean, there's killers everywhere. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. There's probably people who can probably hold their own against anybody in any organization that's probably not even signed yet. They probably just haven't got that spotlight. So for me, I don't look at it in that aspect. You know, I know there's great fighters everywhere.
And that's why, like, even hearing stuff, I mean, I know you're a humble fighter and you're never one of those ones that call out and say, look, I'm the GOAT or anything like that. Like, it's endearing hearing it, but you're not trying to promote yourself as being that image. So, I mean, is that kind of like your take? I mean, you're just a fighter. This is what you do, what you enjoy.
Yeah, 1000%. Like, don't get me wrong. I would like to go down as one of the best to ever do it. I think when it comes down to an athlete who can do it all, like strike, grapple, wrestle, clinch, I've displayed it in all my fights, in world title fights, that I'm able to adapt on the fly and be able to go back to the corner, take criticism, and go back in there and utilize it. You know, absolutely. I'll hang my hat high that I'm a great athlete. I can do that stuff. But when people start turning around and saying, "Oh, you know, you're the GOAT, you're the GOAT," that's up for people to decide who that is. It's their opinion, because opinions are always going to change based on what they've been, you know, exposed to, or what they like, or what they look for, and that's what you find. I leave that up to the community. For me, I just want to have a successful career, be healthy, do a lot of great things, and, you know, retire when I'm ready to retire.
And just continue to evolve. It just seems like your game is never ending. I mean, you're always improving. While some guys are like, yes, I'm a wrestler, or yes, I'm a striker. I mean, really, every aspect of the game, it seems like you try and fine tune everything. Has that ever stopped at any point, or you're just constantly trying to push yourself?
I'm constantly trying to push myself, and that's credit from, you know, great coaching. And when I first started doing mixed martial arts, I didn't go to different gyms for my boxing and kickboxing, Muay Thai, and I didn't go to a different coach for kickboxing or anything like that. Mine was under one umbrella. So when I knew how to throw my punches, I knew how to throw my punch with a kick, if that makes sense. Or I learned how to use my wrestling in order to submission wrestling into the jiu-jitsu. So, and I think the ceiling is, you know, the sky's the limit when it comes to mixed martial arts, because there's so many aspects of fighting that you can always work on. And for me, I know I have, you know, deficiencies in my game, and I always try to work on it, make them the best that I can.
What do you think for, like, kind of the novice fan is kind of one of the biggest misconceptions? Because a lot of fans, they all love seeing the bloody battle, but they don't want to see that guy laying on top of them. They don't understand that wrestling is a big part of the game. Submission, defense is a huge part of the game. I mean, like, those guys that could be avoiding the takedown, this is all a big part. Just because you can stand and just basically be a punching bag doesn't necessarily make you a great fighter.
Yeah, 1000%. And I always tell people this, the novice fans, all the time. Mixed martial arts is the easiest sport to become a world champion in. And the reason why I say that is because there's so many different realms of fighting that you can be successful in, or better than your opponents, have the right path to get there and become a world champion, and not even, you know, be able to wrestle or anything like that. You see a lot of great kickboxers or a lot of great Muay Thai athletes come into mixed martial arts and do very well because they're better than the other opponent in that sound, in that realm of fighting. You know, if you look at a boxer, if you look at, you know, basketball, NFL, NHL, it's a lot harder to become a world champion because you're all doing the same thing. It's boxing there's nothing different. You know, you can take a guy who can out wrestle anybody and give him a world champion, make him a world champion, and next thing you know, he fights another wrestler that can have some good hands. That guy's going to have a hard time.
Yeah, and also that's also why you see some of these fighters feeling the need to try and prove themselves, and the other where you got Conor going over to boxing. You had wrestlers trying to come into the UFC. I forgot who it was that what was it, Tony or somebody came in and fought Randy and just got pummeled,
destroyed.
Yeah, so I mean it's a different take, but seeing how much money there is in some of these other aspects like boxing, could you ever see yourself going over into the boxing realm one day and just throwing down?
I mean, if the money's right, yeah. I mean, I'm not a big fan of boxing, how you get concussed like every single, every knockdown or whatnot. So for me, boxing doesn't seem too appealing. I think the price tag, which you get, and that's only, the only athlete that's ever gone over to boxing and mixed martial arts and made a buttload of money is Conor McGregor. And that comes from his name, who he fought, and all that stuff. So, if I were to get the exact same pay that Conor got fighting Mayweather, yes, I would fight and then I would retire. But that's not the case.
So I mean, you'd even willing to go in with your hands tied behind your back to make that type of money?
Oh, I want to go in with my hands tied behind my back, but I'll go in there ready to fight. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know last time we talked a while back, and I know you're a huge gamer, and I think you were telling me about that survival game you were all about, Escape from Tarkov or something like
Yes.
that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Are you still playing that, or have you moved on to the next one, or have you already been like that expert of that game? Now it's the next realm.
I'm still in that game. I played it for 3 hours last night. So still playing the game. They keep on updating the game. They're going to update the game with the Streets of Tarkov here soon on the next wipe. I'm not sure when that's going to be. And the next game I'm going to be looking to play right now is going to be World of Warcraft. I just did a pre-patch for Shadowlands, so I can't wait to get my hands on that. And then my buddy keeps telling me I need to play Rogue Company. So I think when I get out of this interview, I'm going to go download that game and, stick my nose in that.
Do you think all this like gaming? I know that there's obviously a huge difference, but I mean, you're a technical fighter. These games are not just simple plug in and play. I mean, you have to have that knowledge, that technical aspect of it. Do you see any transition between your gaming world to fighting, or not really?
Just reaction time. That's the biggest thing. Reaction time and making the right decision in a split second. I actually did some content creation in California based on that, where I can't really talk about it, but it'll be coming out here soon. So, but I would say when it comes to gaming, it's all about the reaction time and working your frontal lobe of your brain. And that's one of the things I love. And that's one of the things I love about Escape from Tarkov, that it's always, for me, it's always challenging my decision-making and my reaction time.
So for all those youngsters that are training in the MMA and want to be the next Mighty Mouse, don't forget to pick up the joystick, pick up the controller, and start gaming as well, right?
Yeah. Right now, my son's down there playing video games, and I talked to my wife after I did this study down in California, and I said, the sports scientist said, the frontal lobe of your brain gets stimulated when you do, when you play video games, because you're building that depending on what game you play, right? And typically, the game has to stimulate you. And so my wife was like, yeah, I've never been against you guys playing video games. I just want to make sure they get the schoolwork done.
Well, you always got an excuse now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm like, man, I got to rub my frontal lobe.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, well, anything else you'd like to mention down the pipeline? Have they booked you for another fight yet, or things still?
Still, they haven't booked me yet, but we're talking pretty much first quarter of 2021. Obviously, that's all based on COVID-19 and what happens with the borders and international traveling. Like, all that stuff can change, as we know, just like that. So for me, I'm in shape, feeling great. And if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, I keep on doing what I'm doing.
Awesome. Well, hey, appreciate the time, and look forward to chatting when your next fight's coming up.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
Yep. Take it easy.